Hello and welcome to the Sharp 600, brought to you by Covers.com, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. I'm Jason Logan, feeling very spooky. He's Todd Furman, who I know you're going to have a killer costume for later on Halloween, because you're in Vegas, and Vegas and Halloween are just...
We're looking around the office right now, trying to figure out what we can do to try and be in the spirit of the holiday. So this is one where they clearly need the visuals. If they're only listening in terms of audio podcast, they definitely want to make sure they see how you are officially decked out for the Halloween holiday.
Feel a little spooky here, yeah, and it's a big thing in our house. And week 9 actually kicks off on Halloween night. We get a very spooky matchup as well too. Todd, in terms of
been a nightmare for Jets fans all season long, that's for sure.
Been. In terms of your holiday power rankings, where does Halloween rank for you? And like I said, you're in Vegas, so it takes on a different sense than it may for me, who's in the suburbs.
You know, this is one that I've had to change over the years because as 25 and a single man in Las Vegas, Halloween was number 1, and there was nothing anywhere else that was close. Mm-hmm. It's now moved a little bit further down the list because I, much like you, live in the suburbs. I don't have kids, but we make it a tradition that we're handing out our Halloween candy to all the kids that come walking by. So it slid down a little bit, but the one thing I do love about Halloween, the decorations that we have in our neighborhood, some people go all out for it. And it's even more pronounced than Christmas, so I love it. I mean, I can see why it's rapidly becoming a billion-dollar industry from a Halloween decoration standpoint. And people who just take things to that next level to try and scare the hell out of their neighbors, they have a special place in my heart.
Good. I appreciate that, too. Speaking of scaring and taking it to the next level, teams on Halloween that get to host a game on Halloween night. Do you think there's any added home field edge there when it comes to, they're going to be juiced, they're a little less tied down, they're costumed up, a little louder, a little crazier? Any home field edge for those teams on Halloween?
I mean, if you're living in New York City and you have an option to go out trick-or-treating, spending quality time with your kids, or watching the horror show that's been the New York Jets, I'm going to say that probably not much extra oomph in terms of home field advantage in this particular spot, but just like a good horror flick, Jets fans are hoping to wake up, and maybe it happens on Halloween, allowing them to turn the page.
They definitely need it. I will say, I did do some digging here. Here's a funky little trend for Halloween. So since 2000, NFL home teams have gone 27-16 straight up on Halloween. Probably pretty par for the course there. But 24-18-1 ATS on Halloween. That's a 57% cover rate. Okay.
How many Sundays have fallen on Halloween during that span? Because I was going to go, that's a large sample size.
Just 3. Now, I will tell you, I went back and looked at primetime games on Halloween because people are getting nuts. 7-2 straight up, 7-2 ATS for the home teams hosting on Halloween evening in primetime.
So, let's hope that is a harbinger for things to come. We call it a spoiler in this business. I know we'll get to a Thursday night breakdown a little bit later in the show.
That's right. And speaking of last week, you had a great week. I'll say great week last week. You doubled up on the TD anytime bets with the Browns. Don't be modest. Let's go. You correctly called the Jags as well, too. I finished you can say, for me. I had Stafford over passing on Thursday Night Football, had the Eagles. However, my Cowboys can't even lose right for me. They went over their team total. The last 5 minutes of that fourth quarter, I was like, okay, this is going to hit. No.
I mean,
they got one guy. It's CeeDee Lamb. They got one guy. Just cover him.
The 49ers deployed a very unique defensive strategy. It was cover everyone else but 88 for the Cowboys and hope that Dak Prescott doesn't realize that CeeDee Lamb is wide open. Jason, I'm greedy, though, in this business. I'm a little bit disappointed because if the Giants convert that 2-pointer in the fourth quarter, have a chance for a sweep. But you're right. We'll take the anytime touchdown scores, move on, call it profit, and hope to put a little wind in our proverbial sails going forward.
Yeah, so if you like what Todd did last week, if you like what we did on Thursday Night Football, let us know. Take a second. Review, rate the podcast, whatever it is you use to listen to us. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the old like and subscribe. And like I said last week, this is a great time to subscribe to the Covers YouTube channel because it's Sports Equinox time, and we have everything for every sport out there, from basketball to MMA to hockey, whatever's left of the World Series. You're going to get it and find great insight and info on that Covers YouTube channel. All right, Todd. So I'm going to turn the lights back up. I'm getting a little freaked out here. Let's start the clock. 600 seconds for week 9. All right, lights are back on and the clock is running. We're at the midway mark of the season here and a great opportunity to pause and look ahead. And Todd, let's take a page from our high school yearbooks and play a little game of most likely to. And Todd, I know you were most likely voted to be a math teacher after high school, correct?
That's
I
not
believe
true,
that was
actually. I'll give my high school classmates credit. I was voted most likely to become a bookie in my senior superlative. So I'm one of the few people that lived up to some of that advanced billing.
All right, well, I'm going to give you some scenarios, and you can tell me which teams are most likely to do these things. So let's go. A team with 4 or fewer wins to get to 10 wins. Who's most likely to do that?
I'm going to take a shot on the Indianapolis Colts to be a team to be able to turn the page in their playbook. With Joe Flacco being a substantial upgrade over Anthony Richardson, I think they can catch a little wind in their sails now that Shane Steichen has told us this move is permanent for the foreseeable future, not just a one-off with the aging wonder under center.
All right, I lean towards the Chargers in this one. They got 5 of the next 7 in SoFi. They've got some season-ending trips to New England and Las Vegas. I see 6 winnable games in their future, so I'm going to go with the Chargers for that one. Todd, over team most likely to start producing unders.
So this is going to be difficult for a lot of people to stomach, but I think it starts as early as Sunday. The Jacksonville Jaguars to become an under team because of what they don't have at the wide receiver position going forward. We know about Christian Kirk being lost for the year. Brian Thomas dealing with a chest injury. And I think this defense, the longer they're in Ryan Nielsen's system, is going to get a little bit better with their man coverage scheme. So I'm going to say the Jaguars are going to flip the script and become a little bit more of an under team, especially when they play teams in their weight class.
I said Panthers, 6-2 over-under right now. They're getting some bodies back on a defense that has just been decimated by injuries. The offense, we know what it is, and they're selling off pieces right now. It's going to be on opponents to do all the lion's share of the scoring. So I could see some unders start to trickle in for the Panthers. Winning team most likely to miss the playoffs.
So this feels like low-hanging fruit, but I'm going to take it anyways, and that for me would be the Denver Broncos. You look at what Denver has accomplished already this season. Kudos to Sean Payton with a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix, but the underlying numbers, they're not pretty. Offensively, they face some real lightweights, and by the time we're recording this in 3 weeks, there's a good chance this team will be 5-5 if they lose to the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens this coming week. I think the Broncos end up on the wrong side of 500.
Yes, agreed with that one. And this one's close to the vest for me. Most likely to be coaching the Dallas Cowboys next year.
Can we go with Deion Sanders just for pure shock value in one way, shape, or form? Because that would be the ultimate Jerry move.
He's Jerry's guy.
No, honestly, I'm very curious to see what direction the Cowboys would look to go. But I'm going to say Ben Johnson maybe tries to get a bag there, and the Cowboys can resurrect that offense somehow.
All right, anyone but Mike McCarthy is my answer. I'll be happy with anyone but Mike McCarthy. As we said at the top of the show, we both love Halloween here, and since we're one day away from Halloween, that means I get the candy tax as dad, which is fantastic. But you could tell a lot from a person by what they give away for Halloween. Are they giving away plain chips? Are they giving away Doritos? Yeah.
What about the guys or girls that used to give away like the small bags of coins? Like what the hell are you going to do as a kid on Halloween that maybe 6 years old you're getting 8 cents?
Oh, man. Jeez. I never got that, but I'm going to get you to channel. Gonna get you to, that's a weird-ass neighborhood. I'm going to get you to channel your inner trick-or-treater here, and I'm going to say some team names. You tell me which candy they're giving away this Halloween and why. And we're going to start, you're knocking on the door of the Seattle Seahawks. What are they giving away for Halloween?
They're going to give away Sour Patch Kids. They're going to give away the sweet that we see when they play inferior opponents, and they're going to give away the sour when they step up in class. The sour could also have to coincide with what we've seen defensively from all the injuries. So it's been a sweet and sour season so far, so Sour Patch Kids for the Seahawks.
A tasty treat. Obviously, it's M&M's because of Mike McDonald, but it's off-brand M&M's. It's like N&N's or R&R's or something like that because this defense has not... This defense has not been on brand for what we saw in Baltimore. Just gushing points here the last few weeks. All right, you're knocking on the door of the Washington Commanders. What are they putting in your bag?
I'm going to go with the hot tamales because they've been a little bit spicier than I anticipated so far this season. You know, you bite into a hot tamale, you're not sure what you're going to get. And for the Commanders, I think a lot of us thought there were some major question marks, but they've been spicy and a worthwhile watch each week. So hot tamales, one of the hidden gems on Halloween.
I said junior mints because their junior QB has been, pretty tasty. But much like junior mints, the more we get, the less we want them. They get pretty gross after time, and I think we're going to see the Commanders come back to earth. The betting market's going to flip. We're going to be spitting out some junior mints very soon. Denver Broncos, what are they giving to you?
So I'm going to go Starburst for the Denver Broncos because they come in, I guess now 100 different varieties, but the old traditional pack, it was a question of trying to go through and try and identify the strawberry, which would be a defense that, in my opinion, has overachieved. And then I kind of want to throw away the lemon. I want to throw away the orange, which has been the Denver Broncos offense that's gotten by with smoke and mirrors. So I'm going to go Starburst for the Denver Broncos.
All right. I said double bubble gum. It's kind of, it's hard and it's chewy and it's tough, just like that defense, but loses its flavor within the first few chomps, and you're quickly
Definitely
spitting
true.
it out. And I think that's where we're going to be spitting out the Denver Broncos. Let's jump over to Thursday Night Football. Like we mentioned, a scary one here on Halloween. A couple injuries for both teams, and of course the terrifying turf of MetLife Stadium. Any thoughts or analysis here for Jets in Houston?
You know, what better than on Halloween than to try and catch the falling knife? And the falling knife in this equation would be the New York Jets. So I'm going to buy low with the Jets here. I actually bet them earlier in the week, took a little bit of +1, but I think a cheap money line price still makes sense. This is your all-in effort. This is where it's darkest before the dawn. And the Houston Texans, as you mentioned, a little bit banged up. No Nico Collins, no Stephon Diggs. Big-time problems. I think the Jets finally get a much-needed win.
With a new kicker in tow. Made another knee-jerk move and took poor Greg the Leg behind the shed, and that was that. I'm gonna go to tight end for the Houston Texans, Dalton Schultz. I like his longest reception to be over 17.5 yards. Schultz was already a pretty big part of this passing game, but now, like you said, Diggs is out, Collins is still sidelines, and then we look at the Jets. They're missing could be missing their top coverage linebacker in C.J. Mosley, and potentially 2 starting safeties. That sets up really, really well for Schultz, who's among the top tight ends in routes run, in snaps taken. This guy has already hit some big balls over the course of the season. And now with those receivers out,
former Cowboy, naturally, it had to be a former Cowboy in some capacity that you were going to focus in on a short week.
Well, a guy that should probably still be on the team, much like a lot of other people. Dan Campbell.
Joe Mixon overs, I think, makes some sense. Whether as a rusher, as a receiver, he's another player to watch.
All right, touchdown anytime bets here for Week 9. Todd, get us going.
I feel like I should be double dipping in the receiver room again this week, and I was tempted to do so we'll mention one in passing. But we're going to go to Sunday Night Football, and I'm going to go back to my beloved Josh Downs. An upgrade at quarterback means Downs becomes the elite route runner and arguably Joe Flacco's #1 weapon, especially in the red zone. You look at the red zone targets, they've been there all year for Downs. He's shown flashes with the explosives last week against the Texans. And the fact that odds makers haven't adjusted his price down 3-1, in my opinion, is a steal. I wouldn't fault anybody if they dabbled Alex Pierce out.
All right, I'm going to go with Saints wide receiver Chris Olave. It's out there as high as +162. Derek Carr coming back, that's a good thing for Olave. And he had a big week last week, but could not crack the end zone. And he only has 1 touchdown on the season. The best remedy for that, though, are the Carolina Panthers, giving up the most passing touchdowns in the NFC. They're second worst in red zone defense. And then also Bub Means, questionable for the Saints offense as well, too. So I think we're going to see Olave targeted a little more. He's had success scoring against the Panthers. He'll get a touchdown anytime. All right, 2-minute drill time. Todd, best bets for Week 9.
So we're going to be all totals all the time today with best bets, and I'll start things off between the Ravens and the Broncos. I'm going to go over in the first half. Do shop around. We'll call 23 the consensus, but there are some 22.5s. I think Baltimore bounces back with a chip on their shoulder. We've seen how much more dynamic they can be early in games with Todd Monken's play calling. They were disappointing last week against the Browns. And while I don't think the Broncos keep this game competitive, I do love the scripts we've seen, at least early, from Sean Payton against the banged-up Ravens defense. I'll go early and over in the Ravens and Broncos.
All right, sounds good. We're living in an alternate universe here in which the Chicago Bears should not have lost to Washington on that Hail Mary. And quite honestly, the way it broke down, they probably should have won that game like 22-12. And we're also in a different universe where the Dolphins didn't crap away a win to the Cardinals. I feel like the wins are on opposite sides of the ledgers here. Chicago's defense did what very few could do, and that was slow down Washington and Jaden Daniels. They get a much easier foe here in Arizona. I like Chicago getting points as a dog.
Can't fault you there, although the Bears fans ready to run Matt Eberflus out of town if there's another coaching debacle like we saw last week. I'll go to the Sunday night game. I highlighted one of the players that I think has a breakout performance in Josh Downs, and he'll contribute to the Indianapolis Colts exceeding odds makers' expectations. I'll take the Colts team total over 20.5. Joe Flacco, an upgrade. This is a team that's getting healthier with the skill position players and along the offensive line. I think this Vikings defense against a veteran quarterback is ripe for the picking. Look for Flacco to replicate what we saw from Matthew Stafford last Thursday.
Another team total going Detroit under 26.5 points. They have just been putting up a ton of points, averaging 33 points per game. But what do all those games have in common? They were all indoors. This is the first time we're going to see the Lions venture outside. And what's waiting for them in Lambeau is rain and wind and temperatures in the 50s. They've only scored 27 points or more in 5 of 18 outdoor games over the last 3 seasons. And I think the Packers are going to go ground and pound here, try to play a little keep away, and win that TOP battle. So I think the Lions finish under 27 points here in Week 9. All right, that is it for the Week 9 episode of the Sharp 600 podcast. A big thank you to you, Dell, behind the scenes, Todd, for your insight as well, and of course, FanDuel Sportsbook for jumping along with us this season. And a big thanks goes out to you for listening each and every single week. A quick reminder, if you are with us each and every week, or this is the first time listening to the podcast, let us know. Rate and review, like and subscribe, do all those things. And also, if you're driving around tomorrow night, be careful, slow down, look out for the trick-or-treaters, and by all means, hand out candy. Don't be that guy that sits in the basement and turns out all the lights. At least put a bucket, at least put a bowl out or something like that, right, Todd?
Yeah, I mean, you got to do something. I mean, I have a funny story. Well, maybe it's not that funny about putting a bucket out. We decided it'd be a great idea as kids to put a bucket out. And if we saw adults taking large amounts of candy, that it'd be fun to sit on a roof and shoot paintballs at them. Not small children, of course, to try and with the sign for +1. I'm disappointed you mentioned the weather elements in that Detroit-Green Bay game and you didn't get a Wicked Witch. He's melting in relation to Jared Goff playing in inclement weather as well.
That's right.
Given the thematic scene that we have created throughout the course of the show. I do actually like the dog there a little bit if we get Malik Willis and that number moves out to 3.5. So should be a great holiday weekend, plenty of good football, and hopefully some of these much maligned fan bases can wake up from their long-standing nightmares to their teams putting together a complete 60 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is going to be a very telling week, and like I said, Midway America of the season. So we will be back next Wednesday for Week 10. Until then, best of luck with your bets, and happy Halloween. Hey, NFL fans, you can make every moment more this season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Never waste a hunch at FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 plus and present in select states or 18 plus and present in D.C. First online real money wager, only $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets will expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.